OK，大家听法的时候，走路的速度不要太慢，也不要太快，刚好，也不慢，也不快。All right? When we request Dharma, don't walk too slowly. We sit here too long. Don't walk too fast. No, we eat just right. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Tassa bhagavato arahato samma. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshe. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dhamma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture. Glad you're here with us tonight. We are going to continue our investigation into the practice of bowing in repentance. Our translator is here. We have our earphones, those who need them. 需要耳机的人都可以附耳机哈。We respectfully acknowledge the Kombumerri people of the Ugambe language region as traditional storytellers and custodians. Make that bigger. Let's see here. Fonts, we're going to make it bigger, please. Let's see here. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Try too big. There we go. And bigger. All right. One more time. 34. Guess we don't have a choice. Ayo. 36. All right. We respectfully acknowledge the Kombu-Meri people of the Ugambi language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. All right, here we go. 就是说，我们恭敬地承认Ugambi语族的贡布马里人是我们这里寺院所在地的传统叙事和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从未放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Okay, I'll explain why we do that to people who are not familiar with that practice in just a moment. Here we go. All right. The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他那厚德。Okay, let me explain. 好的，准备好了。Okay, now let's start with this one here. When Master Hua first introduced the idea that we were going to be opening sutras and learning from them every night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sundays. He also introduced the process around not only 讲经 but also 听经, how to listen to sutras being explained. And of course, 请法 was an important part because that was, as we said last night, Samantabhadra, Pushen Pusa has 请转法轮. One of his instructions to us is to request the Dharma wheel be turned. Listen, you have to ask for Dharma. The Buddha doesn't say, sit down, get out your phones and turn on the recorder, I'm going to speak. He doesn't say that. You have to ask him. So the process of asking over several thousand years developed in China. And most of those teachings were gathered around what was called Tiantai Jiaohuan, right? You've heard those words. The Tiantai school. Everybody know Mahayana Buddhism has all these different ways of studying Dharma? How many? What do we talk about? We talk about Wuzong, right? We've heard of the 5 schools of the Mahayana. This, only us. Theravada doesn't do it. Tibetan doesn't do it. What are they? We know Chanzong, meditation, right? Chanzong. We know Jingdu Zong, Pure Land, right? Pure Land. Amitofo, Amitofo. That's very different, very different. Chan school, do it yourself. 自力, right? Your own strength. 念佛法门, 经律法门, 他力, other strength. Amitabha's vows. Okay, there's 律宗, learning how to be in the world, learning how to live in the world without making any mistakes. 律宗, how to live kind of like a cloud sailing through the sky, not creating any issues. Then there is also the Mi Zong. Oh boy, that's the one that is very much misunderstood. Mi Zong. In English, sometimes we say mantrayana, the vehicle of mantras. Sometimes we say secret school. Sometimes we say Vajrayana, the thunderbolt study. Different names. But there's one more. Which one is missing? Anybody know? Which one? We've got 4 out of 5. Chan Zong, Jingdu Zong, Lü Zong, Mi Zong, Jiao Zong. Good. 5 points. Good. 5 points. Jiao Zong. What is the Jiao Zong? That's words the Buddha spoke. What the Buddha said. And people think, oh, the Buddha spoke. Yes, he did. 49 years. You say, 49 years the Buddha spoke. And the words he taught, the things he said. Oh,
recording in progress.
Got kicked off? Is that what happened? Something happened, Sam. There we go. Okay. So the things the Buddha said were recorded. 法师的人和他分享的屏幕分开了，怎么办呢？ Okay. 哦，可以把法师的人的荧幕 Okay, good. There we go. Hold on. You're saying, please share your screen. Share my screen. Thank you. 以后你们就叫我 share your screen. 不要那么自私自利，就你自己会看到，其他人看不到。Okay. So, there we go. Share my screen. Thank you. The Buddha explained all kinds of situations. They talk about the 12 divisions of sutras, all the different reasons the Buddha spoke. But every time he spoke, somebody had to ask him. Otherwise, he was happily meditating. So, in those things the Buddha said got passed on. At one point, they were written down only 200 years after the Buddha's nirvana, finally written down. And I think this is a really important point. Originally, the Buddha said, don't write my words down. Can anybody figure out why? Why did the Buddha say, don't write it down? Keep it oral tradition. 口述, right? My mouth to your ears. Don't read. One big reason why is how many people in India could read? Brahmins, one of the 4 castes. If you were a king, maybe you would read enough to write the law. If you were a merchant, you'd read enough to count numbers so you could not be cheated. If you were untouchable, didn't read. So the Buddha Dharma is here to help us solve our problems. It was spoken just to give us a chance to solve our problems. To, what do they say, 化烦恼, to chase away our problem, our difficulties. If it's in a book that only a certain very few people can read, that's not the Buddha's intent. So he said, keep it in the vernacular. Keep it in everybody's everyday language. Don't write it down. But at a certain point, the monk said, oh, if we don't write it down, we're going to forget it. Then not right. So they wrote it down. Okay. Got passed on, down to China, where they said, let us, the Chinese literary mind loves analysis and categories. So we have to 分类. We have to we have to divide it into categories. We have to analyze it. We have to understand it. So the Tiantai school mostly started by Zhizhe Dashi. Have you heard his name before? Zhizhe Dashi. Mostly around Tiantai Shan in Hangzhou. Hangzhou Tiantai Shan 国清寺。有没有去过？杭州天台山国清寺。有没有谁从国清寺来的？有没有？昨天晚上有麻婆的。我是杭州的人啊。那个师父 has been to 天台山. Master Empty Cloud was at 天台山国清寺. I've been there 3 times now. Wonderful, wonderful place. And that's where, let me show you. Here, I can show you, by golly. Let's take a look. Here we go. Hold on here. Coming up, coming up. Right here. Let's see here. I've got that one. Here we are. Guqingsi. This is the Baota. It's been there since the Sui Chao, before the Tang, 8th century. That has been here since the 8th century, right? Just spectacularly beautiful. So many Da De Gao Seng have been to Tiantai Shan Guqingsi. Oh my goodness. And let's see, what have we got here? This is 智者塔院宝塔，智者塔院 right here, 智者塔院. This is where one of the few places that Shui Lao Heshang 讲经说法. Master Empty Cloud explained the Leng Yan Jing here in this. This is, if you go to Guqingsi, and if you are lucky, Master Yunguan, who is the abbot, will take you out in his van up winding road from Guqingsi. This is a mountain, Tiantai Shan 就是山脉. And you go traveling, and he goes up and goes up, and at a certain point, he pulls off the road, and you think, well, what are we doing here? And he says, okay, start walking. And you walk, and you get to you go up this kind of landscape. And you can see it's very wild. And you get here, and it says, what? 智者茶院, 智者茶院. This is where the Tiantai Jiaoguan came from. This is where, now the important thing, I want to make, why am I going so far into this story? I want people to appreciate, this is 智者法师的宝塔, 他的舍利塔. Master Zhizhe's relics are here. So think about the Buddha lived in 6th century before 公元前, right? BCE, we say, the 6th century before the Common Era. And this is Tiantaishan. And so Buddhism, here is Dharma Master Lai sitting in the waterfall. And let me see, if I'm not mistaken, hold on. Yes, I think there are some people here, and people who we might know. 认识他们吗？洪子英，刘修莲, there we are. Who's that in the back there? 有果站. Okay. All right. So here's the point that I want to make, is that Buddhism traveled from that 5th century before the Common Era, a long 5 centuries. It was Indian Buddhism. Everybody, if you wanted to understand it, you better read Indian languages, you better learn Indian ways of thinking. It came to China along with Han Wudi, right, the emperor, the martial emperor of the Han dynasty, to China. And for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, you still had to learn Indian ways. But when it got to the 4th and 5th century in China, at that point, Buddhism became Chinese. It had been in the world for not quite 1,000 years, 700, 800 years, and it was still very Indian, with Indian ways of thinking about religion, about the mind and all. And at that point, the Chinese had, for example, Chan became very important. In Indian Buddhism, didn't exist, but Damo Zushi Bodhidharma had come now. Also, Chan Hui de Yishi Bai Chan. The number one practice of Master Zhizhe was Bai Chan, bowing repentances. What did he bow? He bowed the Fangdeng Chan. Fangdeng Chan. That's called the Vaipuya repentance. It's not popular now. It's not one that people bow very much. It's still available. You can find it. But at this point, practices that the Chinese liked and innovated became popular in China. And Chinese Buddhism, Han Chuan Fo Jiao, was very much born during this time. And the practices that we are practicing now matured through the Tang Dynasty, and pretty much when it got to the Song Dynasty, 1100, they were set. We are practicing Buddhist practices that have been in the world now for about 900 years, since the Song, since they were like our Da Bei Chan, right? That was a product of the Song Dynasty, mostly in Hangzhou, in that area. Hangzhou was called the Dongnan Foguo, the Buddha land of the southeast. And the writing of Chanhui de Yishi, the ceremonies, the liturgy of repentance, including the Huayan Chan, Pushen Hengyan Chan, which we bow. That was all from within about 100 years of the Song Dynasty. So interesting. The reason that I'm telling you about this was my specialty. My PhD was all about this, was about the history of Chan ceremonies, 不是禅宗, Chan, Bai Chan, those ceremonies, and the matter of bowing, how you practice them. So that's a close topic for me. So this is what I wanted to share, was this idea. Now, this is very funny. Here we are in the 21st century now. We're here in Australia, and we get something like this. So Shifu said, okay, I'm going to have you request Dharma before I explain sutras. I'm going to Jiang Jing every night, so we have to get a way of requesting. So Gong qing da de seng ting. Will a song go with great virtue, right? That's part of it. And Shifu also had a little bell. And he would ding and would sing this, zhong sheng ji. However, when the Chinese did the zhong sheng ji, oh my goodness, it's 庄严得很, really adorned. Can I find it? I wonder if I can find it. Let me see if I got it here. Let's see here. Okay, allow. Here we go. Library. Let's see here. I got it. You ready? So, Guangquan Daoshan came to Berkeley, the abbot of Lingyan Si in Hangzhou, biggest monastery. And he brought with him Fa Ming Fa Shi. Fa Ming Fa Shi was his young secretary, able to do all kinds of good things. So I explained this story that when we, as Guangquan Fa Shi sat with me to Jiang Fa, to give the Berkeley group a chance to hear a Chinese monk explain the Dharma. And so I said, well, we have the Zhongsheng Ji, but I can't do it the way the Chinese do it, I said. So Guangquan Fa Shi, Fa Ming, 念给他们听吧, he says. You do it, Fa Ming Fa Shi. So Fa Ming Fa Shi goes like this. Right? You get the idea. That's just beautiful, you know. It's magnificent. I can't do that. No way in the world. I don't know any Westerner who can even imitate that, right? Oh, you know. So, what do? We do this. The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. Good, right? Western style. No banjo, but ding, okay. That's how we're bringing the Dharma in. Song by song, step by step. 一点比一点. Now, another question that we have is, what about this? What is going on here? This is quite wonderful. And probably we could possibly get by without it because we're a religious community here, but we're also at the same time an Australian community. And this is in Taiwan. You could also talk about 原住民 versus 汉人. And of course, there's 外省人, but we're talking about recent. But in Australia, it's very clear that everybody is a migrant. Everybody is a migrant, unless you are 原住民. How many Shandiren, 原住民, are there here? Not many. The white people who got here 200 years ago killed them all, shot them, saw them, just killed them, right? And destroyed their culture, took their young people and sent them to schools, beat them when they spoke their own language, right? So, very cruel history in Australia of the white people coming on ships from England and Ireland. So the government, it has always been a struggle here in Australia to acknowledge that very ugly history and to try to find a way to make peace with the bloody genocide that happened here in Australia. So not that long ago, the Australian government said, whenever there is a public gathering, whenever we have a meeting with a crowd of people, we should acknowledge that we are the newcomers and that the culture that was here before offers their own wisdom, their own dignity, and we want to respect them. So whether you're gathering for a sports event, whether you're gathering for to vote, whether it's a meeting of the local church social, you say, we respectfully acknowledge the elders, past, present, and emerging. That's the basic. And I've heard many, many different ways of doing it, but I think this is a very graceful way. So we say, we acknowledge the people who lived here, the Kombumerri people. They organize themselves by language region. They pass on their wisdom through stories, and they are the caretakers, the custodians of the land, and we respect them and those to come. And all First Nations peoples who never gave up ownership of the land, they just lost it. We came and we had bigger guns. So when I go to the United States, our story is worse than the Australians, or equally bloody, equally bad. The Native Americans were destroyed and then sent to live on reservations. So when the white people got to the east coast of the United States, the Iroquois Confederacy were the custodians and storytellers of land from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to Wisconsin. All the way here. Let's make that bigger if you want to see it. There we go. There we go. So half of the country from east to west, and then from what is Ontario, which is Canada, all the way down to Georgia, was the property of the Iroquois people, and 5 different tribes united together. And currently, the Iroquois people are a sovereign nation inside of America. They have their own passports, they have their own country. And you know how much land they have? 16 acres. 16 acres. Their tribal headquarters near Syracuse, New York. That's all that's left. And so, yeah, so where I go now, if I lecture in here in Australia, it's this. When we go to, and then we translate, when we go to City of 10,000 Buddhas, it's the Pomo people. City of 10,000 Buddhas, our land is called Pomo Tierra, the land of the Pomo, in a place called Yokeo, Shangu, Deep Valley. So the fact that the Buddhists are here now, the Indians are still there, the Native Americans. They just, the few of them, they come to Wanpo-Chung and still collect their willows to make their baskets. And then when we lecture from Berkeley, it's who? It's the Chochenyo Ohlone people who are in the Bay Area. They were peaceful. They weren't warlike because they had all the shellfish and all of the different animals and trees to pull down the fruits and everything that grew. It's a beautiful place to grow food. They didn't have to fight. There was everything until the Spaniards came and just, So that's why in our Qingfa, we are now according with the 21st century. to improve and modernize our 仪式, our ceremonies. All right, so let's move on. What is bowing? Last night we learned that bowing is a ritual gesture that shows respect externally, and it humbles the person who bows. And why did I lose? There's supposed to be one more. All right, well, I'll have to repair that one. Okay, this is what we learned last night from Master Chengguan's Qingliang Guoshi Huayan Su Chao. He said, bowing in respect, Li Jing Zhimen, Chu Wo Man Zhang, gets rid of that feeling of me being so important. Fa Qi Jing Xin, it increases your faith and your respect for those around you, and it also grows and increases the goodness inside you, your good roots. Okay, that's the idea. And this is an expert. This is Huayan Pusa who says these things. Let's see now. I've got some messages here. Yes. Okay. Okay, Ethan is asking me if what he's heard is true. That's what I've heard. Yes, I've heard that. Is it true or not? I wasn't there. I can't tell you. If it's true, it is passed on that way. It's in the Agama Sutras. Okay. Why do we bow? It transforms our pride. It transforms our arrogance. It teaches respect. It increases goodness in my heart. And if I can get rid of my arrogance, it increases the goodness in the world. It's a better world for my having done that, right? Good reasons to bow. Not just for the Liang Huang Bao Chan, but just any day. Bowing is really good. There's a reason why Xuanhua Shangren said, okay, you have now taken refuge with me, right? He says that to new people who've taken refuge. During the ceremony, during the Guiyi Sambao, I say, Master Hua told us that if we really want to become true disciples of the city of 10,000 Buddhas, bow 10,000 bows. Yao bai, yu wan bai. And when people hear that, if they're not prepared, they go, what? And you say, not all at once. You don't have to start now and finish 10,000 bows. That's too much. But if you can bow 10,000 bows, guaranteed your pride and your arrogance will have been transformed at the end of that. Anybody who has done the Wanfo Bao Chan knows what a powerful ceremony that is for transforming your mind. You're not the same after bowing the 10,000 Buddhas' repentance. So that's what this is what why bowing is such a fundamental teaching, and why it is Li Jing Zhu Fo. Yi zhe Li Jing Zhu Fo, right? Why? Why is that number one? Because it prepares us to cultivate. This is the foundation of our cultivation. It reduces ego. The Chinese say Li. Li, it's very interesting. Did you look at this character? This is a spirit worshiping at an altar, right? The spirit is this guy. That's the Shen radical. Look at the beans and the plate with an offering at the altar, right? This is spirituality. This is religion. You're making an offering of your spirit as you bow, right? Follow? It's a very interesting character, Li. There it is. Why do other people bow? When you think about it, Buddhists are not the only ones who bow. We bow socially for courtesy. Dozo irashaimase, right? To show honor, to repay when people bow to you, right? To continue power relationships. 是的，老板，是的，是的，你说得很对，是，好，好，好，好，好，好，好，好，right? Power relationships. To greet, 再见, bye-bye, okay, bye-bye, amitofo, right? We bow for religious purposes, spiritually, and to cultivate. All these different reasons why we bow, right? Now, take a look here. We greet people, okay? We greet. We bow. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Right? There she is. Courtesy. 这是礼敬礼貌. Welcome. 欢迎欢迎. What else? This is in the way, isn't it? I can't quite see. We say goodbye by bowing. 再见. Goodbye. Sayonara. Right? What else? Power relationships. You will obey. Yes, sir. Okay. Equals to do business. Okay. Seal the deal. Oh, kings, after they are beaten on the battlefield. This is the king of Israel paying tribute, bowing before King Shalmaneser III, who is pouring wine to the god before cutting the head off of the king who died. This is 832 BCE. This king has been beaten in battle. He's about to lose his head. This is Egypt. Gulai IG, Gu-IG. Okay, so, yeah. Reasons to bow. Okay, who bows? Well, all different kinds of classes of people, religious people. The Jains bow. The Muslims and the Jews bow. Catholics and Protestants bow. Hindus bow. Even polar bears and elephants bow. You don't believe it? I'll show you. Okay, Hindus, what do they say? Namaste, right? Namaste. I salute the God within you. Okay, oh, Heruka. Yeah, namaste. Hindus bow. Catholics, oh my goodness, Catholicism, Roman Catholics. Wenxin, 跪下. Prostration. I've seen bishops do this when they get ordained. There's a kind of bow that is palms up like the cross. You make the cross. There's one, punishment bows, truly. Signs of the cross when you stand. Okay, Islam, Jiao, Salat, very much like Theravada. Okay, people have seen this? Yeah. Wow, everybody bows, except who doesn't bow? The Jews bow. It's called davening. You cover your head with your tefillin on and your prayer shawl, and you daven, bowing. There's just one kind of religious person who doesn't. Christians. Protestants. Now, if you were a Western audience, you would definitely laugh at this picture. Why? This is George W. Bush. And what does he say? Let us bow our heads in prayer. That's it. Only that. No more. They are called stiff-necked people in the Bible, right? That's my tradition. Methodist. That's where I come from. So, let us bow our heads in prayer. Right? That's it. That's all you get. Okay, many kinds of bows. Encore! The end of the play. What else? Polar bears. 北极熊. Look at that. See? Told you. Oh boy, everybody bows. Yeah, look at that. Pigeons. Pigeons bow. Of course, they have a different purpose in mind, but they do. Pigeons bow. Who else? Yep. Okay. There it is. All kinds of bows. Even, he bows and he jumps on you. What else? Penguins and show ponies. Oh boy. What else? Elephants bow. Seen him? He's a Buddhist elephant in Sri Lanka, trained to bow to the Buddha. It's true. Okay, of course we're kidding. Now, I did not bow at the beginning. I had no idea about bowing. I wanted to meditate. I thought you could get enlightened by zazen. But I heard stories, and I heard the story of this monk, Shi Lao Heshang, bowed 3 steps, 1 bow from Putoshan all the way to Wutaishan, 3,000 Chinese miles, 1,000 gongli. Nearly died twice, and he died to repay his mother's kindness for giving birth to him because she died in childbirth. Then I also saw Bhikshu Hangju and Bhikshu Hangyou, 2 American monks who did 3 steps, 1 bow. Bhikshu Hangyou was my college roommate. He left home before me at Gold Mountain Monastery. When Hangju Fashi made the vow to bow to the new property at Marble Mount, Washington, Hangyou said, I will be your hufa. So they set out. Yili Sanchen, this is Shifu's calligraphy. So I saw them. I was still a layman. I was a graduate student when I saw them. And when they arrived at Marble Mount, I was there to welcome them. So I was very impressed, very impressed. So what do Buddhists do? Buddhists have full bows. We call it the 5-point bow, 五体投地, right? Head, hands, knees. That's Dingli. That's our style. Okay? Li Bai, Dingli. We have half bows, 1xin. How many times have you done it today? Many, many times. Right? What else do we have? 合掌, 合十, Namaste, Anjali, it's called. So these are Buddhist ritual gestures, ways that we show respect. If you have your palms together, you can't hold a weapon. You can't hold a gun or a stick or a knife. A peaceful gesture. With a half bow, 折腰, right? You lower your head. A full bow, oh my goodness, that's very different. And also, 长规. These are physical changes. You have to move your body. So Buddhists have all of those, all of the Catholic bows and more. Okay. This is the California Highway Patrol driving by, bowing monks. Different moments. Vietnamese families coming to make offerings. This is Hung Chau over here. That's the Pacific Ocean. So I wanted to share just a little bit about my experience to give a context for our Liang Huang Bao Chan. I was a new monk and I didn't know anything about cultivation. And I knew about meditation, was all I knew. And when I got to Gold Mountain, you see, brand new monk, my roommate, Heng Yo, from college, said, oh, he said, hey, here's what you can do. He said, why don't you bow to a sutra? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you're a college student, right? I said, yeah, I'm a graduate student. He said, are you a speed reader? I said, yes, I am. Usually I have 3 books open at once. I'm reading 3 books. I just keep them open and put them down where I stop. And I speed through, turn the pages like this. He said, how much do you remember? I said, pretty much none of it. He said, yeah, that's because you don't digest it. He said, let me show you. So he opened up the Huayan Jing and he goes, Da. Fang. Guang. Try that, he said. I'm like, that's so slow. That's too slow. He said, no, it's not. He said, try it. So I bowed, 大方广佛华严经, 如是我闻, 一是佛在摩切提国. He said, stop. Tell me what you just did. I said, 大方广佛华严经, 如是我闻, 一是. He said, see? You remember it. Furthermore, when you bow, contemplate each character in your dantian. Just see it there. He said, that's called baijing. That's a faman. That's a practice. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. That kind of caught my attention. Now, I had no idea of the Avatamsaka Sutra. At my graduate program, I was studying the Da Boro Jing and the Da Zhi Du Lun, the commentary to the Prajna Sutra. So he said, I recommend the Huayan Jing. So I started bowing to the Huayan Jing. Every day, I would bow in the morning, and I would bow at night. And one day, I was on the second floor of Gold Mountain Monastery, in 3 floors, and I would bow after Zhaoke, because my tendency was to go to sleep after Zhaoke. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use the time, so I took that 5 o'clock hour, and I would light a stick of incense by myself, open up the Huayan Jing, and start to bow. And I would bow until the incense burned down, and then mark my place where I'd gotten to in the sutra, and then continue. So I'd been going for about 6 months like this, and the bowing was the best part of my day. It was really wonderful. And keep losing my place here. There we go. There we are. So on this day, I lit the incense, and it was a spring day, and I bowed, and I realized that I was hearing the sound of seagulls in San Francisco. And you could hear them sometimes, but not very often, because Gold Mountain was in the oldest part of the city, not at the coast. And I realized that I was hearing the sound of ocean tide. Like that. And as I bowed, I realized that I was bowing on blacktop on a road. And I felt wind on my face. And there was someone behind me. I was wearing my precept robe. And the sound of the tide was to the left, and the wind was coming from the left. So I knew I was heading north. And I was bowing, and I stood up, and I bowed. And this went on for a little while, but then it was like, wait a minute. Why am I outside? And why am I near the ocean? And who is that behind me? And when I had these thoughts, well, there I was back in the second floor of Gold Mountain Monastery. That was like, that was weird. Suddenly I was outside. So I kept bowing, transferred the merit. And that day it was my opportunity to take Master Hua's lunch tray up to him on the 3rd floor. We monks took turns. So it was my turn. And I went up and I put the tray down. I said, Shifu, I have a question. Shamontia. I said, Shifu, today when I was bowing in the sutra, it was really weird. I had this feeling that I was outdoors. And I could hear the sounds of birds and the tide, and I could feel the wind and there was somebody behind me. What was that about, Shifu? There's a strange Jingjie. Shifu got this long look in his eyes, and he said, oh, 那个时间已经到了. Oh. He said, like that. He said, 不要打那么多妄想，你只要用功，你妄想分配。He said, 他还没有到了。师父，谁没有到？不要紧，你就去做你应该做的事。Like that, like, what was that? What do you mean, sure, for the time? And who's coming? Never mind. So that was my first awareness that something about bowing to the Avatamsaka Sutra had something to do with me. And then at a certain point, I asked Shifu if I could At that, we'd gotten a new monastery in Los Angeles, our first big branch, Jinlun Si. And we heard about this new potential of a place in Ukiah that Shifu was going to call Wan Focheng, City of 10,000 Buddhas. And then Shifu one day during Avatamsaka lecture, he said, it's going to take a lot of very hard work and sacrifice to accomplish the place in Ukiah. It's difficult to do that, to have a place like that, lots of obstacles. So somebody's going to have to sacrifice, he said. So I said, Shifu, if I went to Gold Wheel and bowed to the city of 10,000 Buddhas, would that help? And he said, not yet. He said, not yet, Shifu. And so then this young man showed up at Gold Mountain Monastery. And he, that night, when he came to the door, very first time, he'd come across from Berkeley where he lived. And the phone rang. I was in the office. And Shifu said, anybody come? I said, yeah, Shifu, there's a young man. It's funny, he looks like me. He's got a shirt that I used to wear. He's driving a pickup truck like I used to drive. Shifu said, tell him to come to tonight's lecture. So I said, excuse me, can you come? Are you free tonight? Do you want to come listen to a Buddhist lecture? He goes, yeah, why? I said, be a good idea. Oh, okay, he said. So that night, after lecture, Shifu suddenly said, Guozhan, he said, you've been talking about this pilgrimage. Why haven't you made your vow yet? No, but Shifu, you always told me wait. Do it now. Shifu, I would like to make a pilgrimage to City of 10,000 Buddhas from Gold Wheel Temple, 3 steps, 1 bow. And Shifu looked around and he said, what do you all think? Can he do this? Is he going to succeed? And Heng said, no, I come from Los Angeles. He'll never make it out of LA alive. I know that place. Never mind, said Shifu, we will protect him. Anybody else? What do you all think? And he said, well, maybe, Shifu. And then this guy, Heng Chao, stood up and he said, this is very strange. I don't know why, but somehow I think I'm supposed to go with him, he said. And Shifu said, well, you have to make a vow. So could I go with him and bow with him? And he was a layman, right? So Shifu said, okay, do you think the emperor can be a Dharma protector, he said. So that was how these conditions came together. And 3 months later, Marty was now a monk, Gold Wheel Temple. So this is the first bow. This is Helen Wu's husband, Wesley Wu, Dr. Wu, Hu Guoxiang. I had the Huayan Jing on my back, and I put the precept sash over it. But after that, we put the pack over the sash. So started out here, down here. Where's the South Pasadena? 800 miles, 2 years and 6 months. It says 9, but it was 6. Right here is where we started. Went down to Santa Monica, found Highway 1, traveled up to Central California, to Monterey, Carmel, San Francisco, and on to Ukiah. So 800 miles. Anyway, that's the story. And this was the idea was to share with you more about my experience bowing and how to do contemplations. You can see there are a few more slides here to go through. Maybe we can do that tomorrow night and tell some stories about what the bowing does, what bowing, the effect of bowing when you do it for a long, long time. Not only on you, the person bowing, but on the people who see you. on the people who witness. And I hope that that will be of interest to folks as we bow every day here. Okay, so that's our time is up. We've learned a little bit about the bell song and how the traditions of the Tiantai are coming to the West. We heard a little bit about the acknowledgement of country that is a wholesome practice here in Australia and that we've now adopted to our lectures since we're part of Australia. And also a little bit about Baijing, what it's like to bow to sutras, to kind of expand your understanding of what is possible and how to make the experience that we're having here at the Gold Coast of bowing to the Liang Chan, how to extend that into our daily practice after we leave and go back home. Okay, all right, we need to dedicate merit. You all can get some rest and charge your engines for tomorrow's practice. Shall we do the mantra tonight? Let's do our Medicine Buddha mantra and transfer that merit to people who are suffering worldwide. Here we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaisaje Vaisajya Samukate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaisaje Vaisajya Samukate Swaha. Last time. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaisaje Vaisajya Samukate Swaha. And we can bow to the Buddha together, right from where you're sitting. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that will do it for us. Amitofo. Night, everybody. Get some rest.